Today's, I will start over again. Welcome everyone to today's discussion of the workbook lesson and A Course in Miracles. It's wonderful to have you all here with us today. And I'm Sharon Beck, and I'm a volunteer with the Foundation for Inner Peace, and I'm going to be facilitating today's discussion. So we want to also welcome those of you who will be viewing the recording at a later date. You're part of all of this as well as us, and we welcome you here. So last week we were on lesson 65, and we read through the first paragraph, but I would like for us all, before we get started going back into lesson 65, I would like for all of us to take a moment to settle ourselves and take a couple of deep breaths. And if you feel comfortable, close your eyes while you're doing this. Take another deep breath in and let it out. And settle into that presence that adores us and is as close as our heartbeat and as near as our breath. I want to read you something from today's lesson. Father, this may not be today's lesson, but this is the one I focused on this morning. Father, I must return your love for me, for giving and receiving are the same, and you have given all your love to me. I must return it, for I want it mine in full awareness, blazing in my mind and keeping it with its kindly light, inviolate, beloved, with fear behind and only peace ahead. How still the way your loving Son is led along to you. Brother, we find that stillness now. The way is open. Now we follow it in peace together. You have reached your hand to me, and I will never leave you. We are one, and it is but this oneness that we seek as we accomplish these few final steps which end a journey that was not begun. So thank you for joining me in that stillness. And what I'd like to do is start off by having two people alternate the chapter or the paragraphs. Maggie, would you start one? And Andrew, would you take the second one? And would you alternate until you're finished with all of it?
Sure. Lesson 65. My only function is the one God gave me. The idea for today reaffirms your commitment to salvation. It also reminds you that you have no function other than that. Both these thoughts are obviously necessary for a total commitment. Salvation cannot be the only purpose you hold while you still cherish others. The full acceptance of salvation as your only function necessarily entails two phases: the recognition of salvation as your function, and the relinquishment of all the other goals you have invented for yourself.
This is the only way in which you can take your rightful place among the saviors of the world. This is the only way in which you can say and mean, my only function is the one God gave me. This is the only way in which you can find peace of mind.
Today, and for a number of days to follow, set aside 10 to 15 minutes for a more sustained practice period in which you try to understand and accept what the idea for the day really means. Today's idea offers you escape from all your perceived difficulties. It places the key to the door of peace, which you have closed upon yourself, in your own hands. It gives you the answer to all the searching you have done since time began.
Try, if possible, to undertake the daily extended practice periods at approximately the same time each day. Try also to determine this time in advance, and then adhere to it as closely as possible. The purpose of this is to arrange your day that you have set apart the time for God, as well as for all the trivial purposes and goals you will pursue. This is part of the long-range disciplinary training your mind needs, so that the Holy Spirit can use it consistently for the purpose He shares with you.
For the longer practice period, begin by reviewing the idea for the day. Then close your eyes, repeat the idea to yourself once again, and watch your mind carefully to catch whatever thoughts cross it. At first, make no attempt to concentrate only on thoughts related to the idea for the day. Rather, try to uncover each thought that arises to interfere with it. Note each one as it comes to you, with as little involvement or concern as possible, dismissing each one by telling yourself, "This thought reflects a goal that is preventing me from accepting my only function."
After a while, interfering thoughts will become harder to find. Try, however, to continue a minute or so longer, attempting to catch a few of the idle thoughts that escaped your attention before, but do not strain or make undue effort in doing this. Then tell yourself, "On this clean slate, let my true function be written for me." You need not use these exact words, but try to get the sense of being willing to have your illusions of purpose be replaced by truth.
Finally, repeat the idea for today once more and devote the rest of the practice period to trying to focus on its importance to you, the relief its acceptance will bring by resolving your conflicts once and for all, and the extent to which you really want salvation in spite of your own foolish ideas to the contrary.
In the shorter practice periods, which should be undertaken at least once an hour, use this form in applying today's idea. My only function is the one God gave me. I want no other, and I have no other. Sometimes close your eyes as you practice this, and sometimes keep them open and look about you. It is what you see now that will be totally changed when you accept today's idea completely.
Thank you. So, does anyone have any thoughts about the whole of it before we start going chapter or paragraph by paragraph? Does it bring up anything for anybody? No? Okay. So let's read the second chapter or paragraph. This is the only way in which you can take your rightful place among the saviors of the world. This is the only way in which you can say and mean, my only function is the one God gave me. This is the only way in which you can find peace of mind. So I'd like to ask, what does that mean to other people that our only function is salvation? That's what it's telling us. Our only function is salvation. What does that mean to you? Maggie.
To me, to, acknowledge that my only function is the one God gave me, which is the function of salvation, is to acknowledge that there's nothing else worth doing. There's
Mhm.
nothing else for me to do. And, I guess to answer your original question too, Sharon, just about what this lesson as a whole kind of says to me. We've read it through now last week and just now, and each time it just really, I like the emphasis on the fact that there's 2 steps to that acceptance of that being your only function. That, we can't just plug our ears and close our eyes and go, no, there's nothing else. There's nothing else. It's actually letting yourself look at the other functions that you think you have, whatever it is you think that there really is to do here, and letting those things be actually just looked at and then said, oh, this isn't it. This isn't it at all. So I feel, for me, the idea that that is your only function is really, it's emphasizing to me that there's nothing else that I can do. There's really nothing else to do here at all.
Mhm. Yeah, I always wonder, okay, how do we bring that down to a practical level? How do I incorporate that with my everyday nitty-gritty, And one of the ways that I've been noticing for myself lately is when things don't go as planned, or when I'm in a line, or when things stop that I'm in the line and it's not moving forward. It's almost like now I don't notice that's even happening. It's like whether the line moves slowly or doesn't move or moves fast, it's like it's all just part of life and it doesn't upset me. So I think, well, that's the broad stroke. I want to ask Spirit to show me those other little hidden things, So I guess my question to all of you is, how have you seen this showing up in your life that's taught you something? Johanna.
I'm going to have to ask you guys help. Today there was an upset. I'm over it now, but today there was an upset. We were sitting at the dinner table having tea after dinner, and my husband's chair, something happened with the leg. So he went like this all of a sudden, unexpectedly, because something with his chair was wrong. And he didn't fall down, but I mean, it was like a shock. And he knocked the table, and he knocked over the mugs of tea. And I saw the mug falling towards me with hot tea in it, and I gave it a shove to not fall on me, but on the floor, like in a real. And I looked at him, and we both knew it was an accident. I mean, nobody was at fault. And then I said, well, wow, wasn't I lucky that I responded so quickly by knocking that mug away from me? And he said something like, no, you shouldn't have done that at all. That was the wrong. And I just went, not so clever. And all of a sudden he was just wiping off the table. And I said, well, it was an accident. I don't blame you for it. But why are you saying this to me? Anyway, long story short, I couldn't sit at the table any longer. So I decided to forgo any other tea. And I went into the kitchen to clean up and etc. I just thought, if I'm going to stay at the table, I'm going to blow up, and I don't want to do that. And then later on, after a while, I could just see the silliness of it all. And I could just see my own reaction, being upset with him for not acknowledging that I was clever. I mean, it's all just so silly. But to tie it into this lesson, my only function is salvation, and I don't have any other function. And so what does that mean in this example? Yeah. I'm just wondering about it.
Yeah. What does salvation mean to all of you? Yeah. Oh, so Maria, did you want to speak? You're muted if you did. I didn't know if you were raising your hand. There's a little button that you can actually press, or you can go like that.
But I don't know. I meant to ask where the button was, because I couldn't find it. But I do have. I have experienced something. I don't want to break Johanna. I just want to compliment or make it in a different way. I was looking for a program on TV, and all that came up were the news in whatever channel I looked. And it was so terrible, with war, with fire, with people dying, with people killing others. And I felt such despair. And it was as if hope left completely. I could feel the it was if I went into another planet. Really, it wasn't the same place I was minutes before, and it is really that salvation is my only function here, because what I did was to ask the Holy Spirit to take me away from my insanity, because that was what I was seeing, and that is my hell. Not only our shared hell, but it was my hell I was seeing, because it were the things I fear the most. So I I think of salvation not only for myself, but for all of us, as this release from our own insanity. Because what we see is our insane thoughts out there.
Yes.
Or out here.
Very well said, Maria. Susan.
Well, Maria, I can't say anything better than release from our insanity. That's it right there. Right? So one of the practices that I focus on for releasing myself from my own insanity is like a unconditional acceptance of whatever. And then the next stage for me is, can I actually kind of love it, whatever? And so there are degrees that I try within my own practice to first get out of my head and my insanity and focus on being in the moment as it is, without preference that it be something else. And believe me, I've had a few moments recently that I egoically would have preferred to not have had. So it took some time to mine the gold there, and but it is there when we release. The salvation, the freedom, and the peace is there when we release our attachment to anything generated as a result of our insanity, of our nutty minds.
Yes, I agree. Thank you, Susan. Janice.
Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. One of the things I think I remember hearing, and I was just trying to look it up to make sure I got it right, is that I think it's if we are good vertically, then everything is good horizontally, or it's the other way around. I'm not sure, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that if we are good inside, if our spiritual being is right, then so many things fall into place. I think years ago, my purpose in life, or I felt like my purpose in life, was to be the best mom and to raise two, amazing adult children. And then when that job was done, there was a period where I wasn't quite sure what my purpose or what how to be in this world. And I think now what I just try to do is just be a light, be an upbeat, happy, positive individual to everything I do. Like today I had to go to physical therapy, but I don't come in complaining. I don't go in saying everything hurts. I come in for these people who are helping people all day long. I come in positive and upbeat, and we're laughing, and I think that if you can carry that into the world, again, it's an echo, right? Whatever we put out is what comes back. So for me now, I don't look too much as, oh my God, I have to have this unbelievable purpose. I used to put so much pressure on myself. I just try to say, how do I be the best version of myself today? And some days I get it and some days I don't. But if I can get it more than not, then I'm ahead of the game. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Andrew.
Thank you. These lessons, these workbook lessons, they're really to remind us of our function. It doesn't tell us that we're not to acknowledge what's going on in the world. This lesson even says somewhere that you're going to have to deal with the events of the day, but we do remind ourselves hourly or they say hourly. I never quite make it, but it's just to bring us back to acknowledging that, yes, we are spirit, our function is salvation, but we still have to deal with the world. And it's just a good way to, I think, find your peaceful center no matter what's happening in the world. I watch the news a lot too, and it sometimes makes me feel upset or angry, but I realize that it's just all in my head, in my mind. This whole world is in our mind. It's not real, but it seems very real because we made it, and we have to deal with it now. But the lessons just remind us that we are the salvation of the world. We just have to make it happen. And the workbook lessons help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Maggie.
Yeah, thank you to everyone for the lovely shares. And they're all relevant and helpful. And I felt, though, like bringing us back to Johanna at the tea table, just because I felt like we left her there. And she asked for our help. And I also just love practical examples of what are we talking about really doing here, right? And Sharon posed that to us. And I know Johanna was offering that example to let us talk about that. So to speak to that just a little bit, I guess it's maybe helpful to start first and remind us all that our function of salvation, right? Our part in salvation is forgiveness. The past several lessons have really been focusing on this if you've been with us for the past month or more. So as this lesson is pointing out, essentially anything outside of forgiveness then, right? Not our function, not our function. And so this example that Johanna gave us being at the tea table, right? I don't wish to speak for you at all, Johanna, but I can put myself in that seat and just imagine myself in that moment. And you even mentioned yourself kind of a little sense of like, oh, well, how dare he not recognize how clever I was, right? So I can relate to that. And I think for me, the thing to hone in on is literally any moment at which I am not feeling peace. And so it could be as subtle as actually being confused, not knowing why something is happening, or it can be as, not subtle as being in an absolute rage over what is occurring. But just even that little, how dare he? Oh, what is that? Right? That's enough. That's it. That's it right there. And that's, I think, what we're being taught to look for and catch. Not that we're being taught to ignore it or try to deny it or try to be some being that is not having that happen. Just that we notice it as it is happening. And then we go, oh, here it is. Here's my practice. Right? Jesus isn't even saying you should be able to figure out how to have a day where you don't have to do this. Jesus is saying this is what you need to do because this is where you are right now in your mind. So, Johanna, I don't know, what you took away from that moment. Your hand is raised, so perhaps you're going to tell us about that next. But I know for me, that moment would be about just reminding myself, I'm never upset for the reason I think. Lesson 5 of the workbook, right? Really, really helpful one for me personally. I use it constantly. So yes, the tea was spilled and oh my gosh, I was clever. I thought he didn't feel the same way. Okay. All right. It's not about this. It is not about this. It's not about the tea. It's not about me. It's not about him. And then what is it really about? Well, I'm told my only purpose is forgiveness. I'm told my only function is forgiveness. So this must be an opportunity for that as well. So that was what I wanted to say to Johanna and to us all. And I'll leave it there.
Great. Thank you. I loved that. Johanna?
I love that too, Maggie. I honestly, I hadn't gone to those last couple steps that you mentioned. It's, when you said, I'm never upset for the reason, I think. And so it's not about the tea, it's not about the spill, it's not about his response. I haven't figured out what it was about then, but I was in a better place fairly quickly. Whereas I can imagine, sometime before, I would just be in a tizzy for like the rest of the afternoon, where that didn't happen now. So I think I learned that already, to just let it go. I'll have to figure it out what it is that upset me, not being recognized. I think anyway, it's just a small little thing, but I thought I'd throw it in there.
Well,
Thank you
yeah,
for your
and
insights.
I think it's a perfect example of the little things that come up. And if we just keep asking ourselves, what is this for? What is it for? So that whole thing to me was nothing more than an opportunity for you to practice forgiveness. And I think we get these little things happening all the time to practice on. I think they're little gifts from the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that phrase. Oh my God.
That's a great phrase.
Yeah. I can only
what I do, sorry?
I said, I can only use it on myself. I can't say it to someone else. This is not happening to you. It's happening for you. They might hit me, but I certainly use it for myself.
Yeah.
And what were you saying?
Yeah, what I usually do, and what I did today, was also look. Jesus in the Course asks us to look at it, to not look away, but look directly at it, what it is that is upsetting us, and acknowledge what it does to you. So let the feelings surface. I allowed the feelings to surface. I felt indignation, and I didn't feel acknowledged. So I let all that come up. And then I looked at it and I asked to see differently. So I stopped interacting with it in the way that I usually would. So I left the table. And I stopped investing it with emotion, what I usually would do, stewing inside, how can he say something like that? And et cetera, et cetera. I stopped all that. And I asked to see differently, and I trusted that I would. And fairly quickly I did. So I'm not really sure what it is that it is for, other than to practice this, like what you said, Sharon, to practice it.
Yeah.
So, and I could laugh about it. Before long, I was just laughing about the whole silly situation. Thankfully, it wasn't a big thing.
Yeah. Just something to practice your spiritual muscles on.
I suppose so. Yeah. But to come back to what Maria was saying, and what Andrew also was saying about, upsetting things that happen in the wider world, that seem to disturb the peace of mind. For that too, you can just look at what you're seeing, acknowledge what it does to you, and not stuff it away, but acknowledge that it makes you afraid and it makes you feel powerless. And then stop interacting with it the way you're used to, if only for a little while, for like a couple minutes, and drop all the charge that you've given the situation. Well, why are they doing that stuff? And they're always blah, blah. Drop all that. And that creates space in your mind for the light to shine in.
Right.
And then you ask to see differently, and you trust that the answer is already there. And that helps me a great deal.
Yes.
Just thought I'd share that. I hope Maria and Andrew can use that too. I don't know.
Thank you. So G, I don't know your name. I just see a G.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
If all things are lessons God would have me learn, and he says to us in the beginning of the text that he doesn't ask us not to have any impure thoughts, just none that we would keep, then every instant, this instant, which is every instant, which the Course calls the holy instant, is the opportunity for me to be grateful. Because when I am in that frame of mind that I'm grateful for whatever is occurring in this instant, regardless of how it seems, where it's coming from, if I am grateful for the experience, I'm allowing that experience to be in my field of awareness, my conscious awareness, then that gratitude is expressed in the form of love and acceptance. And the way I'm understanding that as our title, my only function is the one that God gave me. My only function is to be that which I am as created by God, peace itself.
Right.
Namaste.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Well said. So, shall we move on to I don't know why.
Maria has her hand up.
Oh, I see. Oh, hi, Maria. Go ahead. I didn't see it with your little ceiling there. Go ahead, though. Maria?
Oh, there you are.
You're muted, though, Maria. There you go.
I think she's freezing.
Oh,
I'm not.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, your
Please,
internet
I'm not,
is wrong or
hear
off.
me. Perhaps I'm all in and out right
No,
now.
we can't, Maria, we can't understand you at all. Can you hear us clearly?
No. Freezing.
Your internet, it's not working, Maria. I'm so sorry.
Sometimes if you turn your video off, you can get better sound.
Okay. You want to try turning your video off and see if we can hear you better and you could just talk? Well, okay. Well, yeah, it's not working. You're muted right now, but okay. I'm going to go ahead, Maria. I hope you get that fixed because we want to hear what you have to say. So shall we go on to paragraph? Oh, go ahead, Johanna. You're muted.
I would like to quickly respond to what G said, Gloria, I think, what she said about our function being the peace of God and being the light of the world, I suppose. Anyway, and I couldn't agree more. But the thing is, how do we get there? If you do not feel peaceful, you cannot just pretend to be peaceful. If you feel this fire in your heart or in your head, how do you get it to still? How do you get it to quiet down? And that's where the work is, to get to that peaceful space. Yeah. And of course, before an upset has happened, if you're in a peaceful space, it is a matter of staying there, right? And not letting anything deter you. But once something happens that disturbs your peace of mind, then it's the art to get back to that place.
Mm-hmm. 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 I agree. Okay. Shall we go on to paragraph? Okay, Susan.
I just wanted to add on to what you were saying, Johanna, where I recently listened to the Miracle Voices podcast, and a gentleman named Keith talked about sitting in the cinema with Jesus and watching the movie. And the timeliness of that was so wonderful because it's like the action step right there, right? When you're in the middle of feeling yourself being pulled into something dropping down into the grit, if you will, or finding the frustration of not being recognized properly, or whatever it is. Or in my case, I had a very scary medical thing happen, and I found myself sitting. I said, okay, no, we can go that way. There's a big pull to get into that big fear state, or I can sit in the cinema with Jesus and watch the movie. And I watched the movie of, I told Maggie this thing called Susan, just totally flipping out. I became the observer. I didn't prevent the things that and nor could I prevent some of the physical things that were happening, but I became a little bit that degree removed so I could observe it. And through that space that was created, I was able to call in some higher power assistance to keep me floating above it just enough to get through it. So that, I just wanted to add that to your story.
Thank you, Susan. That was great. Maggie.
Yeah, thank you, Susan, too. And I thought that just kind of maybe bridges a little bit to what G was saying and what Johanna was just pointing out, like, how do we get there? If you're not in the peaceful place, how do you get there? Like Susan's story of, for some, that works really well to use that imagery of being in the cinema with Jesus, watching the movie. I know that is something I use as well. And what you said, Susan, was that doing that gave you enough space to then kind of, okay, now let me ask for help, right? Let me see and choose another way. And so I think that's kind of bridging a little bit maybe of the gap between a couple of the different shares of how you get from the space of, oh yes, this Susan thing is freaking out right now. Let me remember I'm not it. I'm not her. Right. So I'm going to kind of step back into that theater in the mind, but then that gives you the space to continue the practice, which is to ask for help and help me see this differently.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to just make that connection.
Yeah. That's great. Does anyone else have anything they want to add to that before we go on to paragraph 3? Yeah.
Yes, I think, yeah.
I would like to add. I would like to add a very simple thing. I try to remind myself of when I'm getting upset, the smallest thing. It's not. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It's the smallest frown or smallest upset. Then I try to remind myself that I'm wrong. I just am wrong. Vergis je, wat is dat? Ik vergis me.
I'm making a mistake.
I'm making a mistake. This is my mistake.
Right.
And I don't know what the mistake is, but that will follow, perhaps. But it helps to say to myself, when I don't feel happy, I'm mistaken. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I'm listening to the wrong teacher. Yeah. Okay, so who would like to read paragraph 3? Who hasn't read yet?
I can
Anyone?
read.
Okay, go ahead.
Today, and for a number of days to follow, set aside 10 to 15 minutes for a more sustained practice period in which you try to understand and accept what the idea for the day really means. Today's idea offers you escape from all your perceived difficulties. It places the key to the door of peace, which you have closed upon yourself in your own hands. It gives you the answer to all the searching you have done since time began.
Yeah.
Do you want me to keep going? Okay, no.
First of all, do you have any thoughts about that paragraph?
Okay, so this is huge for me because I tend to be a little bit of a worrier, and I am having to really be reset myself, and again, not realize I don't have to figure everything out. And I've taken some time sometimes to just sit and be still and meditate and try to feel the presence of God with me. So a lot of times my sayings are, I can't, you can, I think I'll let you. Thy will be done, not mine. It just is, I was on a meeting last night, and there's two worlds we could live in, right? One where you're peaceful and you're happy and you're content with the day, and the other is being in fear and worry, as opposed to love and faith. So I'm really trying to switch it from a lifetime of kind of anxiety and worry to love and faith, and really try to get out of that rumination that has plagued me, which is really just a shame because it's just no way to live. So that's kind of just my journey at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a journey.
It is a journey.
Yeah. Okay. So does anyone else have any thoughts on paragraph 3? Okay. We can move on to paragraph 4. Would someone else like to read?
Read it.
Okay.
Try, if possible, to undertake the daily extended practice periods at approximately the same time each day. Try also to determine this time in advance and then adhere to it as closely as possible. The purpose of this is to arrange your day so that you've set apart the time for God, as well as for all the trivial purposes and goals you will pursue. This is part of the long-range disciplinary training your mind needs, so that the Holy Spirit can use it consistently for the purpose he shares with you.
So what does that say to you?
Well, I really like that paragraph. That's why I wanted to read it, because it talks about all my trivial purposes and goals, which is just the everyday chatter and upsets that are going to come my way. And I also like that it tells me this is a long range disciplinary training program that I clearly don't have it today. And it is, I like when it says throughout the book, you can't understand this. Don't try to understand this. Just do what I say. Or this is a long-term kind of thing, because I'm really impatient, and that really helps reset me.
Uh-huh.
So I just like that it talks about my trivial purposes and goals.
Yeah. And they're all trivial purposes and goals. Actually, all of ours are.
Yeah.
Andrew.
Yeah, I like this paragraph for the same reason John does. But from the practical point of view, when I first wake up in the morning, I have my iPad next to the bed on the nightstand, and that's when I read the lesson of the day. And at night, I try to do my longer practice periods then. And then as far as hourly, I have no luck with that. I just do it whenever I remember. But that's all.
I wonder if there's any course student who has ever gone a whole year doing it exactly the way we're asked to do it. And I don't believe there's any of us that has. I think we come as close as we can. And I know each year I get a little better at it, but I'm still not there either. And this is year number 4 for me going through the daily lessons. So, but one thing that gives me a lot of courage, a lot of, help is that Judy Skutch-Whitson herself said that she was in the slow learners group. I just love that because it makes it okay for me to be in the slow learners group too. So, Rich, your hand is up. Speak to us.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go for it as far as the paragraph here. I mean, I like how it's saying 4:3, as well as for all the trivial purposes. So, I mean, the author here is implying that things other than the pursuit of God are trivial, which is true. I mean, the book says that a couple different places, and it's true. But still, the book is acknowledging here, that there are other things that have to be done besides the lesson. So it's acknowledging that. That's good. And yeah, I certainly enjoy this sentence here about the long range disciplinary training that we need. I need, anyone needs, in terms of fully living the ideas in this book. I mean, we know the little fairly well-known sentence in the book about you have allowed for much too much mind wandering. It says it a couple times in the book, and so it's just that idea of healing of the mind training. That's why it's a whole year's worth of lessons.
Yeah, that's true. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to share about that before we go on to paragraph 5? I'm going to read paragraph 5. I love to read the course. For the longer practice period, begin by reviewing the idea for the day. Then close your eyes. Repeat the idea to yourself once again and watch your mind carefully to catch whatever thoughts cross it. At first, make no attempt to concentrate only on thoughts related to the idea for the day. Rather, try to uncover each thought that arises to interfere with it. Note each one as it comes to you, with as little involvement or concern as possible, dismissing each one by telling yourself, this thought reflects a goal that is preventing me from accepting my only function. I like that. Now I'm going to practice that. So does that bring up anything for anybody? No? Okay. Well, we have more time. Let's go. Maybe we can finish this day. Who would like to read 6? I'm going to have to call on someone if someone doesn't. How about
I can
Kathy?
do it.
Kathy, yay!
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
After a while, interfering thoughts will become harder to find. Try, however, to continue a minute or so longer, attempting to catch a few of the idle thoughts that escaped your attention before, but do not strain or make undue effort in doing this. Then tell yourself, on this clean slate, let my true function be written for me. You need not use these exact words, but try to get the sense of being willing to have your illusions of purpose be replaced by truth.
Yes. So for me, when it says after a while, interfering thoughts will become harder to find, it's like, really? Boy, I got so many interfering thoughts. It's hard for me to believe that there's going to come a time when I won't have hardly any interfering thoughts. But so far, I haven't mastered meditation like that. And to me, that is meditation. So, Johanna.
I like the word clean slate, because that reminds me of what Susan was talking about, being in the cinema watching the movie with Jesus, and the space that she was able to allow to happen between what was happening her medically and you the observer. And I think that's so crucial, that we detach, even if only for a moment, from whatever is happening. And that's the clean slate where then the light can shine in, because we're blocking it. The light is continuous. It's not like it's all of a sudden starting to shine. That's our experience, but it's there all the time. And it's our blocking that makes us think there is no light.
Yes.
So yeah, and what the message that these couple paragraphs bring home is that the extent of our waywardness is just enormous. You know, every time I read this, I go like, because a couple of years, you know, I tend to forget. You know, I tend to, and it's a good thing perhaps that I forget. But when I read these types of paragraphs, I go, "Oh my goodness, this we've gone so far off track." So it's good. It's good that we do the work, and we're doing it for the whole sonship. We're not doing it just for ourselves. We're doing it for everybody.
We are everybody. Okay. Rich.
Somebody else had their hand up, but
I didn't see another hand. I only saw your hand.
all right, I'll go for it. Yeah, yeah, I like that. The goal is to have no conflicts of thought. That's in the teacher's manual. Towards the end, there's a sentence, no conflicts of thought. Yeah, that's the real goal. I mean, let alone conflicts of action, no conflicts of thought. You know, I mean, that's the goal. So, you know, on this clean slate, let my true function be written for me. So, you know, for me, my true function as I understand ACIM is, you know, what is God's will moment to moment? That's my function. That's my job, whether it's a paid job or a volunteer job or service of any kind or interaction of any kind with anyone, family, friends, strangers, you know, acquaintances, my true function. What should I be doing? What should I be saying in the moment? Whatever it might be in terms of God's will.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's forgiving everyone for everything. Always in the moment, past moment, future moment. It's all about forgiveness. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add before we go to paragraph 7? Reverend Jerry, would you like to read paragraph 7?
Oh, I'd be happy to. Finally, repeat the idea for today once more and devote the rest of the practice period to trying to focus on its importance to you. The relief its acceptance will bring you by resolving your conflicts once and for all, and the extent to which you really want salvation, in spite of your own foolish ideas to the contrary. Well, this brings to my mind the idea that I have a split mind, and there's nothing that I can do to undo the splitness because I made it up. And I'm very invested, and I resist the idea of a unification or one mind in Christ. So I recognize it, I let it be, I don't judge it, and I let the Holy Spirit help, of course, to undo the splitness and the dualistic idea that there's me and then there's everybody else. They're victimizers, I'm the victim. I've got to really work on not being a victim and not judging and being critical of other victimizers. It just seems to me that everybody is in that category except me. You know, I'm that face of innocence. God help us all. Thank you.
Yeah. Maggie.
Yeah, God help us all, Jerry. I love that paragraph 7 here. To me, this paragraph is about the mind training in letting yourself slowly realize that this is what will actually make you feel better. And even if, you are not there currently, to let yourself sit in this space where you finally got to that clean slate, like Johanna said. And to just acknowledge that this is my function. I'm told my function is my happiness too. It does feel better once you're at that clean slate place, right? And so as you get to find that place through the practice of forgiveness, you're training your mind to want the forgiveness, to actually say, oh yes, I do want to let go of these other functions that I thought I was giving myself because they don't make me feel better. This actually does make me feel better. And I know for me in my practice, that was very much an intellectual kind of faith and trust before I really felt it, but I recognize a paragraph like that. That's where Jesus is really trying to help us make that connection.
Mm-hmm. So the other two, well, the paragraph 8 is really just about the practicing and how to do it. Should we go ahead and finish off with that? Johanna? Okay.
Yeah, just ask somebody to read 8, and then we're at the top of the hour, so it's perfect timing.
Okay. Who would like to read 8? Okay, Rich, go ahead.
I will definitely read 8. I just want to say real brief that again, that topic was brought up there about 7:1, I guess the entire sentence, but resolving your conflicts once and for all. Wow. And in the book, the sentence I was referring to earlier about there is nothing you say that contradicts what you think or do. No thought opposes any other thought. No act belies your word, and no word lacks agreement with another. I mean, this is the place to get to.
Yeah.
So number 8, in the shorter practice periods, which should be undertaken at least once an hour, use this form in applying today's idea. My only function is the one God gave me. I want no other, and I have no other. Sometimes close your eyes as you practice this, and sometimes keep them open and look about you. It is what you see now that will be totally changed when you accept today's idea completely.
Thank you for reading that. And we are just about at the top of the hour. We have a few more moments. Is there anything about this lesson that, okay, Johanna?
Sorry, I just have to add this. I can't wait to see what that is, that the last sentence refers to. Totally changed. It is what you see now that will be totally changed when you accept today's idea completely. That's such a promise. Such a promise.
Yeah, I wonder what it means by that.
We'll know it when we'll see it, right?
Yeah. I think it means that you'll see love everywhere. It's like also in the Course it says, when you want only love, you'll see nothing else.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We want to see a world full of sweet, beautiful people. That's what we're going to see. And I really feel like that's what I see. I see a world full of beautiful people. Maybe that's because I don't watch the news, but they're all me and I love me. So I got to love them too.
It's a simple course, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's really simple. It may not be easy, but it is simple. And there's great comfort in that to me. Nothing real can be threatened. It can't, there is no such thing as any real threat. I don't care if I'm in a plane and they go, oh my God, we're going down. It's like, yeah, okay. But and maybe this body's going to die, but there is no such thing as death, so anyway. Thank you all so much for being here today with us. And Johanna, I'm not sure how to end it. You can tell I'm one of the volunteers.
You just ended it perfectly. Thank you, Sharon, for facilitating today.
Oh, thank you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. And I hope you come back and be with us again next Tuesday.